Good evening. Today is Tuesday, January 17th. This is a special meeting of the Los Angeles Board of Police Commissioners. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Good evening. Commissioner Briggs absent. Commissioner Decker,
Present.
Commissioner Bonner,
Here.
Commissioner Kalanche,
Here.
and Commissioner Sobroff.
Here.
Let the record reflect that we have a quorum. Also present, we have the Executive Director, the Chief of Police, the Inspector General, and the City Attorney. Madam Vice President.
Thank you very much. This evening, we're present to hear public comment on the application of Chief Michael Moore for reappointment to a second term as Chief of Police in accordance with LA City Charter Section 575C. This is the only matter on which we are here to take public comment. All members of the public who have signed on are welcome to make public comment, and each member of the public will be given a maximum of 2 minutes to speak. Madam Secretary, please open public comment and call upon the first speaker.
Okay, our first speaker is Betty Lay.
Hello there.
Hi, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. First off, I support Chief Moore's second term. All chiefs before that have all not been perfect. Nobody's perfect. We'd all be God if we were. So I just want it noted. I totally support him on his second term. And I will yield the rest of my time. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Aware LA.
Hi, sorry, my name is Brittany Pollock. Moore absolutely cannot be appointed for another term. I don't know what kind of standards people have to allow someone into this leadership position, but LAPD killed at least 31 people last year, 37 the previous year. That's 31 families, 31 communities absolutely destroyed. Last year was also the deadliest year yet for law enforcement killings in the US. Police killed 1,176 people in 2022. That means that LAPD alone was responsible for about 3% of all police murders in the country. That is unacceptable and so devastating. No more and no more. LAPD blows up a neighborhood and he thinks he should stay as the head of the department? What are the standards? Absolutely not. We need change, not the same thing over and over and over again. No to Moore getting another term. I yield the rest of my time.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Ted Trubinsky.
Good evening. We're calling for no more. 3 people murdered in the first week of January 2023. He oversaw the brutalization of protesters during the 2020 uprising. He oversaw the lack of proper response to COVID, including but not limited to officers not wearing masks. Under his tenure, there was an improper fireworks disposal that turned into a bomb detonation in South LA, which led to the death of 2 people and the displacing of a whole neighborhood. He was honored to promote Corey Palka in 2019. Who knows how many other corrupt cops he's promoted during his tenure as chief. I've been taking part in this police commission for years, and it's clear that this group does not care about the citizen's voice in policing. I'm so disheartened by this body, yet I still urge you to reject Chief Moore's nomination, especially in the wake of the murder of Keenan Anderson, Takar Smith, and Oscar Leon Sanchez. I yield the rest of my time.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Zach Sherwin.
2 hours is not enough time for everybody who wants to speak, but you haven't allowed an open-ended meeting since June 2020 when the chief got told what he could do. So I guess that was the end of that. This meeting is a charade, I'll say, out of the gate. We all know that the chief is going to get reappointed, but in a city with a functional police commission, this man would absolutely be gone. I mean, for the very fact that already in 2023, this police department has been on national news for the spate of horrible killings that the country and the world's eyes have been on. But do we expect any meaningful accountability for this incompetent, corrupt, banally evil chief? Absolutely not. In the same way that the officers under his command don't face accountability for their horrific, awful murders and other misdeeds, Moore's going to skate with all of your help, commissioners. And the fact that you offer this sham, this charade of a measly 2 hours to let people talk about it, and then you'll just use that as the pretext to justify the rubber stamp that you're going to push this ahead with. Shame on all of you, and shame on you, Chief Moore. Your tenure has been tainted since you came into office with that corrupt drop payment you took right after coming out of retirement that the taxpayers of, as you call it, the City of Angels footed the bill for. Shame on you for being in this job. I hold no respect for you, and nobody in this city should. The comments that you doubled down on after the murder of George Floyd about his killing being on the hands of protesters. I could go on, but I'll follow the pattern of other callers and yield the rest of my time so other people can talk. Do not reappoint this man, I say with an eye roll and air quotes. I yield the rest of my time to the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Christian. Christian, you're on. Okay.
Hello, I'm calling because I do not think you should reappoint Moore. It is truly despicable that Chief Moore put out a directive to remove all thin blue line flags from public view on the anniversary of fallen LAPD officer Fernando Arroyas, January 10th, exactly 1 year after his murder. When I look at the blue line flag, that is who I see, Fernando Arroyas and all the officers who have tragically died. How dare the chief of police say this flag is racist, bigoted, oppressive, undemocratic, or represents violent extremist views? What a hurtful misrepresentation and mischaracterization to officers throughout our country. Chief Moore has been photographed in public proudly holding that same flag, marching with officers. What a hypocrite. Chief Moore wants to be reappointed so he can get in his 7 or 8 years as chief of police so he can get a better pension. It's all about the money, not the safety of Los Angeles, like Tennessee, where he can watch us all go up in flames from afar. Moore will be safe in a city whose police department hasn't been corrupted by his woke policies.
Madam Secretary, we're not hearing this caller. Let's move to the next one. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Javier Hermosillo.
Good evening. You know, most of the calls tonight are going to be negative because there is an organized effort that's been going on for quite a while. If you look at the submissions sent into the police commission, and not the people who are on here, although that's also an issue. From the last meeting, there were 109 submissions, of which 97% were all the exact same script. So this is an effort to get rid of the chief simply because he's not popular. And he's not popular because he's been doing the right thing against not only crime in the streets, not only discipline in the department, but other things that have never been done by any chief before. And generally speaking, the negative people are going to take advantage of a forum like this. And good people, who are happy with going on, they just go on with their life. I first came across Chief Moore when he was a sergeant or a lieutenant at I believe, Wilshire. And it didn't start out well because I had some bad information about him. But over the years, I watched him and I've seen him become a good leader, a respected leader. I've been around this police department since the early 70s when I was a police reporter. Later, I helped create the first CPAB and the first Chiefs Latino Community Council, et cetera. And I've also done the Discipline Boards of Rights where officers are called to task for allegations. And I've never seen someone more prepared, more willing to work with the community and connected to our great city. And so, despite the clicks that want him out, we the people want Mike Moore for another term. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Q Jean-Marie.
Good evening.
Good evening. You have 2 minutes.
Black folks can no longer be acceptable collateral damage for a flawed system. Keenan Anderson should be alive right now. Whose life was in danger? Was the officer's life in danger? After they had him down, why did they have to keep tasing him? They had him down, they kept tasing him, and they know better than all of us what the dangers are. In the matter of George Floyd, no one was ever held accountable. Are Black people collateral damage for a flawed system? After the bombing of South Central community of Black and brown folks, no one was held accountable. Are Black and brown folks collateral damage for a flawed system? No one has held anyone accountable for January 6th. Are Black and brown folks collateral damage for LAPD's racism? No, do not appoint this chief, because we already know if you reappoint Chief Moore, what we're going to have is more dead Black and brown bodies. I yield my time.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Alex H.
Hello, I'm Alex.
Hi, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. At City Council this morning, the sister of Keenan Anderson said, if you continue to blame the victim and not hold officers accountable, why would they ever stop killing us? This is why Chief Moore must be removed. I'm a mother with small children, a homeowner, and a small business owner in Los Angeles. And from all three of those perspectives, I'm asking you to remove Chief Moore and deny his request for reappointment. If the unprecedented global uprising of 2020 against police brutality was not a wake-up call, then nothing will be to this chief of police. $8 million per day does not keep us safe from officers, and there is a complete lack of accountability within the department. There's been ample reporting that Chief Moore's instructions on how to respond to protesters in 2020 was vicious, that he instructed officers to beat and tase protesters. And we saw this repeated against those who protested last spring when Roe was overturned. This chief is not equipped to lead us into what must be the next stage of law enforcement's accountability, nor is he willing to support the public's demands to redirect funds to services that better suit public needs. During his term, the LA Times released an analysis of 911 calls over a 10-year period in Los Angeles. The data shows that only 8% of calls to 911 were for violent needs. That means that 92% of calls could have been responded to by someone other than LAPD. If you continue to blame the victim and not hold officers accountable, why would they ever stop killing us? No more to Chief Moore. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Adam.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, you have 2 minutes.
Great. Mike, do you remember Melly Corrado? She was just working at Trader Joe's till your maniacal murderers with something to prove shot into the store and into her too. Do you ever think about her father when you're lying through your fucking smile? Oh, Mike, you know exactly what you're doing. You've been doing it for a while. Mike, do you remember Jermaine Pettit? Your officers thought he had a weapon, they said. Reminds me of January 2020, when your cops shot Victor Valencia dead. The official story was a car park. We're supposed to think that an officer believed. with the media and your pig boosters. It's something you think you can achieve. Mike, do you remember Valentina Peralta? Dead at just 14 years old. Casting the blame on another. On death, your lies are crafted and sold. 'Cause who brought the rifle to the Coke store? Whose department's the deadliest one? By design, all the reforms and trainings make way for cops, bullets, and guns. Mike, do you remember Takar and Oscar? Your people stole them to start off the year. You killed them in Keenan, no rhyme and no reason. The cause shouldn't be any more clear. But do you ever think about them others? Danny Hernandez, Alex Flores, and more.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have caller ending 7494.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, you have 2 minutes.
Hi, my name is Tyler Boudreau. I'm with Black Lives Matter Los Angeles, and I'm joining the chorus of people demanding no more. It is clear that he is racist and does not act within the interests of Black people. In fact, his policies and inaction has only harmed and killed our people. 3 people have already been killed by LAPD within the first week, the first fucking week of the year. And LAPD starts off by killing people and continuing their legacy as the most murderous police enforcement in the nation. And it's just ridiculous that he's even up for reappointment after all of the things that he's done. After using Breitbart to recruit police officers, after comparing Black Lives Matter protesters and saying that George Floyd's blood is on their hands as well, he should have been gone that day. I can't even believe we're still talking about that. Do you know how offensive and out of touch something like that to come out of the LAPD chief's mouth is? After the fireworks explosion on 27th Street that displaced an entire community, led to 2 elderly community members' deaths because they were displaced? This is ridiculous that he's even up for reappointment. He obviously is a danger to this city. He needs to go. No more. I yield the rest of my time.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Michael Williams.
Can everyone hear me?
Hi, yes, you have 2 minutes.
So many people have given you good reasons for why Chief Moore should not be reappointed. I can't and won't try to re-go over all the amazingly stupid things that this man has done in his time, the amazingly deadly positions that he's taken concerning the LAPD. What I'm going to ask is for you and whoever else is calling in to vouch for this man is ask yourself, why can't we have better? Why can't we have a system of law enforcement that doesn't just prioritize some types of people, but prioritize protecting and serving everyone that lives in this city? Why can't we have a law enforcement body that treats people like Keenan Anderson with respect and tries to get him the help that he deserves instead of tasing him to death? Why can't we have better? Why can't we have systems in place that help all of us? Chief Moore does not represent a system where everyone benefits. Black people, Latinx people, people with disabilities, people with mental health issues. He has claimed to try to do things to curb the deadly behavior of LAPD and has failed every single year that he has been in place. Why can't we have better? Why can't we have better than someone who will have officers stupid enough to detonate a bomb in the middle of a residential street and then try to justify it?
Thank you. Next, we have Philip Tabby.
Morale is down, number of officers is down, crime is up at scary levels. This commission needs to do the morally right thing and not recommend Michael Moore for a second term. It's obvious he just wants to milk Los Angeles for every penny that he can. When's enough, Mike? Moore is also morally bankrupt. That does not receive the respect from the rank and file, from the command staff, and from the community. Los Angeles deserves a strong, respected leader, not a wuss. Mike, you stand down to the radical groups that want to dismantle law enforcement and then look for a scapegoat, blaming the Proud Boys for your decision to remove the blue line flag and then sending your minions to community meetings to lie to us. Deputy Chief Hamilton lied to our CPAB to cover your butt, Mike. Shame on you both. Let's talk about the bomb incident in Newton. I heard you and Marino were celebrating his promotion at Salt Creek in Valencia, and you responded to the bomb incident, but you told Marino to stay behind with the ladies. Marino should have responded since he was in charge of that unit. You make bad decisions, Mike. You lied to the community when you said you made changes to the bomb squad. All you did was promote the commander to deputy chief. You kept the same captain. Bomb squad personnel did not change, y'all. You make bad decisions and lie to the people. You get intoxicated in public. Dodger Stadium, isn't that against the law, public intoxication? You as the chief of police should be on duty 24 hours a day. He got his drop money, about $1.2 million on balance, and then he's got an assistant's chief pension and a chief salary. Then you get this off-contract raise and you don't want to defer it. You know, you're the highest paid state employee, higher than the president of the United States. You are not worth the money. Get rid of Chief Moore.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Julia R.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, you have 2 minutes.
This man, I'm calling in another echo of no more Chief Moore. This man absolutely cannot be chief of police any longer. It's kind of I don't even sometimes really understand why we even talk to this body, because this is not a commission of this police. It's an absolute joke of an organizational body, because you don't do anything. But I have to I can't even not say anything about his reappointment. This man has had scandal after scandal. This police department is currently failing in so many ways. We have the most murderous police department in the country. I just don't understand how you reappoint someone for that job when that is their record. It's been murder after murder. We've got 3 already this year in the first week of January. This last one, I mean, your officers electrocuted a man, a teacher, a father electrocuted a man to death. I just don't really understand how you think that is a rehirable action. It's truly baffling to me that we're even having this conversation. There are so many times in which Chief Moore has instigated just more hatred and just shame to this city. We deserve so much better. I love Los Angeles so much. We have such good communities and people here who want to take care of one another, and actively Chief Moore continues to harm communities and drive away the actual structures that keep our communities safe. We cannot continue to have Chief Moore. No.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Steve Rogers.
Good evening, and I'm glad to see we're having this meeting in the evening where more people can maybe hear and access. Chief Moore is not a murdering racist, and neither is the LAPD. Those are hateful incorrect things. They're inaccurate and unfair. Now, I do believe that Chief Moore should not be reappointed, but it's not out of rancor or ideology. I think we need to go in another direction. I think the turning point for me was when Chief Moore took a knee, and that's why I refer to him as Chief Bended Knee, to BLM. That was outrageous. That was an embarrassing disgrace. And I think that anyone, including Chief Moore, that took a knee should turn in their badge. Now, he could have turned things around, I believe, as time went on, because I'm pro-police. I want the LAPD to be successful. I want community policing to be successful because I live in this city and I've been a long-term resident and observer of the LAPD. So it's important to me and from my neighbors and friends here in the city that we have a safer city. I think it's important that the police commissioners go and talk to the police officers and close roll calls and see what they say about Chief Moore. Okay, listening to people who are hateful ideologues is not going to get us anywhere. We need objectivity, we need balance, and if Chief Moore is reappointed, I wish that he succeeds. Now, I know many officers are upset about the thin blue line being taken out of the lobbies of police stations, and they have a right to be. I'm upset about it on their behalf because that thin blue line flag is very symbolic. And if we want higher morale, you have to support police, and that's one way of doing it. And to malign it as being something else other than what it is a symbol of solidarity for the line between chaos and civilization. Turn things around, Chief Moore. If you're going to stay, please do the best you can to support the officers and the morale and make community policing work. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Jamie. Jamie, you're on.
Hey, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, you have 2 minutes.
I reject the reappointment of Chief Moore, who has continued LAPD's legacy of anti-Blackness and brutality and defended and facilitated its violence wholeheartedly without shame. Literally every word that comes out of this guy's mouth makes me sick, but I have to say that his comments at this group's meeting on December 13th were especially shocking, even for him. He produced a borderline unintelligible word salad speech in which he gravely, sanctimoniously sat there and described the statistics on reported hate crimes as terrible and troubling and tragic. I think that pretty much sums up his own career at LAPD. Also at that meeting, this is not a direct quote because I had to clean up his grammar a lot, but he said something approximate to, historically, policing at times has been a state actor in discrimination. What the fuck? Moore is a walking, talking hate crime himself. There is nothing historical about the inherent evil that is policing. There's nothing at times about the inherent evil that is policing. At all times, in all situations, Moore and his department are the embodiment in ideology and in practice of the gender and race-motivated harassment, surveillance, assault, terrorization, and murder of Black, brown, and poor communities. I reject the continued funding and support of the murderous LAPD. I demand that city resources currently devoted to the support and maintenance of the LAPD be invested instead in life-affirming, life-supporting, and accessible community services and programs. Fuck you all in advance for not actually taking anything that gets said at this meeting into account when you reappoint this ignorant, satanic son of a bitch, and I'll yield the rest of my time. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Sarah B.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Yeah, so I wanted to join the others in demanding that you do not reappoint Chief Moore. I know most of you don't seem to be listening anyway, including Chief Moore, who has just been reading other things on his computer. But as a citizen of Los Angeles that's also a social worker and tries to promote the equity and safety of Angelenos, I beg of you not to reappoint this man. He's created a culture where cops are enabled to circulate hate and racism. He promised he would hold various people accountable for perpetuating gross acts and misconduct, but always finds excuses not to. He's lied on the record before to the public, such as the time when he lied about the number of traffic stops made in South Central in 2021, when the actual number was exponentially larger than what he said it was. He lies about his role in raising money for the LA Police Association. He's continuously ignored the demands of approximately 2/3 of Angelenos who consistently and loudly demand that LAPD be defunded. Chief Moore has denied LAPD was responsible for other deaths, even though his officers were the ones who chased drivers through red lights and caused fatal crashes. We need a chief that will prioritize the diversion of police calls to mental health responders and community ambassadors. Moore said he would be open to that, but he has done nothing to do that. Chief Moore also dares to use Martin Luther King Jr.'s name while also defending his police officers killing Black folks. Here's what Martin Luther King actually said. He said, "The greatest stumbling block towards freedom is not the white citizen counselors of the Ku Klux Klaner, but the white moderate who's more devoted to order than to justice. And you commissioners are the members of that silent, complicit white moderates of whom Dr. King spoke." I yield my time.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Richie.
Yes, hello. It's Richie Surjenko from the People's City Council. Just want to first off by honoring the lives and names of the people that were taken in the first week of 2023 by LAPD: Keenan Anderson, Takar Smith, Oscar Leon Sanchez. And I just want to point out that there are so many different people calling in and saying that they don't want Chief Moore to be the next chief. Even the pro-comp people are saying they don't want Chief Moore. And even people that are calling in to support Moore, they're saying he's unpopular. He's unpopular for a reason. Under his reign, LAPD has continued to be one of the most murderous police forces in this country. Do you remember when they blew up the South Central neighborhood and ended up killing 2 people from a result of that? Do you remember 14-year-old Valentina Oriana Peralta? All of these, Chief Moore and his security went to another country and were cited for making an unlawful arrest in another country. This man has just continued to act like he is above the law, like this criticism is meaningless. And to this commission, the criticism of Moore is meaningless because, as other callers have pointed out, you are just nothing but a rubber stamp. You're going to vote to continue his nomination. And, Bonner, Soberoff, you're just sitting there and you put on this serious face and you act like you're serious individuals. You're going to vote for this fucking guy anyway. Soberoff, take your glasses off. Nobody fucking likes you either. This commission is a rubber stamp joke. And so, yes, continue to nominate and appoint this man that allowed Keenan Anderson to be fucking tased to death, chased down.
Thank you. Next, we have P. Minor.
Can you hear me?
Hi, yes, you have 2 minutes.
Yes, thank you. The only positive thing I can say about tonight is I appreciate the fact that this meeting is occurring at 6 p.m., which all commission meetings should occur. It is an opportunity for you to hear from a broader range of individuals in our community and not to be so insulated and think that only what you believe is the truth and best for the city. I definitely, as I have said previously, do not believe Chief Moore should be reappointed. The number of reasons why could not be recited within 2 minutes. You're going to hear them tonight for a number of people. You've read them in the LA Times. You've read them in the editorial of the LA Times. You've read about them in independent media like Knock LA. You understand why he should not be reappointed, but you intend to rubber stamp him so you can continue this systemic, bloody LAPD system where officers continue to harm and murder Black, brown, and poor people and are not held accountable. It is true, LAPD is the most murderous police department in the nation. So I loudly say no, Chief Moore. I'm through. Let others talk because you've heard from me before, and there are a lot of people you need to hear from who have the same opinion. LA needs a change. Chief Moore must go. We have followed his career since 2018. We have seen the ups and downs, and mostly downs, and his officers do not support him. That's why we have all of these policing problems. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have T.
Hello.
Hi, you have 2 minutes.
Power restraint to the families impacted by police violence. Keenan Anderson should still be with us today. He was calling for help. He was in a traffic accident. How is it that y'all show up and murder this man again? Another murder live on TV. Tase this man for minutes on his back, behind his heart. You're all supposedly trained. You knew. This guy had to know. I want the name of that officer. He needs to be fired and prosecuted. And even that won't bring Keenan back. The list of failures by Moore is unconscionable. Like, the list could go on for days and years. You know, have you named the pigs that were at the state capitol for the insurrection? What about the stolen guns from the LAPD store? Right? What about the other lives that were taken? 30-something lives in 2022, 30-something lives in 2021. I mean, one is enough. One is too much. Let alone 30, 60, 100. We're up to like 700, 800. No more. This guy can't be reappointed. Y'all's, and I'm tired of talking to y'all every Tuesday. And let me tell you something. You think you're all getting over on us and you're getting over on the people and that there's no accountability? God has accountability, because in the spirit world, there is accountability. And it's coming.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Baba Akili.
Yes, the definition, as Einstein has laid it out, is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. This is a classic example of that, of insanity. To reappoint Chief Moore is insane. He has, just at the beginning of this year, the murder of 3 people, tasing one of them to death, and that person pleading for their life. That should be enough in and of itself. If you dismissed all the other things, but don't dismiss all the other things. Don't look the other way with all the other things. It's time for a new start. It's time for new leadership. It's time for a new police chief. No more. And I think about, I saw that video, like many people in the city have seen it. It was horrendous. It was the kind of thing that nobody should ever have to see, certainly experience. And this police force was responsible for that. And this police chief was responsible for those police. And that is enough. If we don't talk about anything else, that should be enough for you right there to not reappoint Michael Moore. We can talk about the bombing, the detonating of the bombing in the neighborhoods. We can talk about not significantly disciplining Ryan Lee, who murdered, who you all agreed was out of policy in the killing of Grishario Mack. We can talk about those things, but just look at the beginning of this year alone. Measure that. And if you don't do anything else, that has got to be enough to say we've got to go in another direction and we need another person. No more.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Anne.
Hi there. I'm calling to say that Michael Moore absolutely does not deserve a second term. He's the most embarrassing police chief we've ever seen. He blew up a neighborhood. He caused an international accident. Under his watch, a teenager was murdered while trying on a dress in a store. The kinds of policies and the culture that he's created within the LAPD is absolutely ghastly. You're disgusting. And this entire commission is disgusting because you're going to listen to everything said tonight and you're going to look at the 3 people killed in the first week of this year, and you're not going to do anything about it. Even the people calling in who support the police hate his ass. You have to do something about it. This is basically state-sponsored terrorism. My name is Olga. I live in District 5, and I just want to mention that I live very close to where Keenan was killed. He should still be with us today. And near where he was killed, there's an encampment where I know a few people who live who are predominantly Black men. Last week, LAPD Pacific Division, the same one that killed Keenan, was sent by our city government to break up this encampment. It's insane to me that after the LAPD has killed so many Black people, our city continues to send armed officers to engage in homelessness outreach. None of this is stuff that any cop should be doing. If you all were serious about it, you would be condemning this stuff constantly because it's disgusting. It's literally state-sponsored terrorism, and we just let the LAPD keep doing it. I genuinely wonder what the LAPD and Michael Moore has over all of you, that you can look at a police chief who blew up an entire neighborhood by accident and think that he might even possibly deserve another term terrorizing this city.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Lionel Mares.
Yes, good evening, commissioners. I don't believe that Michael Chief Moore should not get reappointed. He has failed the city of Los Angeles. His policies has failed the city of Los Angeles. His police officers have repeatedly used excessive force. And I watched the videos, I've analyzed the videos over and over again. And I studied criminology and sociology. And I also watch Frontline PBS on policing, and the USA and the police forces are using excessive force. They're scared and you resort to using lethal force, which results in a person getting shot or killed or paralyzed, and has traumatized many families, the victims, and it has caused the people to distrust the police because the police force under Michael Moore and LAPD has failed time and time again. He has not learned his lesson. He has not listened to the concerns of communities, and that he should not be reappointed, and that the police commission should not go forward with his nomination, and the LA City Council should not nominate him or reappoint him because unfortunately he has failed and he has not done anything to change the culture internally of the department. And I've said this many times that the LAPD should not continue with its current policies. They need a radical transformation of their policies. Their bureaucracy needs to be restructured, reorganized, reformed from the bottom up. And the mayor, Karen Bass, and his LA City Council should take this seriously, and they should contact,
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Melina Abdullah.
Hi, my name is Melina Abdullah. I appreciate that this meeting is in the evening when we have an opportunity to call in. But I'm outraged that we're even having this conversation. Why are we even considering, why are you even considering reappointing this absolutely horrendous chief of police who, regardless of what he wants to say, has misled LAPD into being the most murderous police force in the entire nation? LAPD killed 16 people last year. If you don't go just by the numbers but that they report, if you include people who were killed by means other than shooting. We also have to remember that there's no other city in the entire nation that killed 3 people within the first 3 days of January. And then what Michael Moore does is what he always does. After they kill the body, they assassinate the characters of the people that they killed. And so I want to say that Keenan Anderson was deserving of his life. I want to say that he didn't bring his own death. LAPD did. I want to say that Keenan Anderson should still be here with his family, with his young son. He should still be here to teach his children, his students. I want to say that Takar Smith should be here raising his 6 children. Mental health issues are health issues. You don't have a right to steal life. Oscar Leon Sanchez is deserving of his own life. You, as the police commissioner, are supposed to represent us as the people, not be in the pockets of police chiefs like Michael Moore and entities like the LA Police Protective League. So do the right thing. Don't reappoint Michael Moore. We say no more Moore. We say, if you have a conscience, let it be your.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Larry.
Good evening, members of the Los Angeles Police Commission, Executive Director T-Fank, Chief Moore, Mr. Inspector General, and our City Attorney. I consider it a privilege to voice my positive input to each of you in support of a second term for Chief Michael Moore to lead the Los Angeles Police Department. In being a long-term member of the community for 50 years, both residentially and professionally, and staying attuned to the state of the city, it appears to me that Chief Moore probably has the most challenging job in all facets of his responsibilities and continues his timeless efforts and management skills with 42 years of unblemished devotion to the Los Angeles Police Department. I don't believe there is another individual possessing the long-term seasoned skill sets and experience with all 21 divisions of the department, along with its specialized divisions, and having to be the lead juggler in fiscally balancing the budget with limited financial resources. In the never-ending world of obstacles and criticism he encounters on a daily basis, it has always appeared that he is up to those challenges on a consistent basis and never shies away from the negativity being sent his way by the media and members of activist organizations. I do not envy the chief's position of having to please a diverse population encompassing 460 year and is not given the resources needed to reverse that attrition that so many other law enforcement agencies are offering to new recruits. It is quite easy for the outside critics to be the Monday morning quarterbacks, but I feel certain that if they walked a mile in Chief Moore's shoes, they would realize how fortunate the city is to have this man as our chief. And I could never sum up all the positives that Chief Moore has accomplished in a 2-minute presentation. I yield my time.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Alejandro Juarez Ulgalde.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, you have 2 minutes.
Yes, hello, good evening. My name is Alejandro Juarez, and I am calling to strongly urge you all to not reappoint Chief Moore. Under his oversight, the murder of 16 Angelinos last year, in the year 2022, and 3 just in the first week of 2023, that's 19 mothers who lost their sons, 19 communities who have lost their children. We are tired and we are done with seeing our communities being wiped away. Black and brown kids and people and communities have been at the knee of police departments for centuries, for decades here in Los Angeles. We say no with killer cops, with killer police chiefs that enable these racist killers to continue terrorizing our communities. Under his supervision, we have seen the communities of South Central and their community basically being destroyed by that dumb bombing that happened right there in South Central. And that was terrible. Families lost their homes and no one was held accountable. No one. We're tired. We need this to stop immediately. And all of you have the power tonight to make a decision. If we want to continue with this same behavior in Los Angeles or make a new direction, a new path, all of you snap out of it, wake up. The community is here telling you, begging you today. So far, there's only been 4 people that have been in support of Chief Moore. all of us are calling for him to not continue this reign of terror. We ask all of you to continue, and I yield the rest of my time. Taso Kamati. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Flo.
Hello.
Hi, you have 2 minutes.
Hi. My name is Florence Sanu. I have grown up in Los Angeles. Since I was 4 years old, I've been here for 4 decades. I now am raising my twin sons in Los Angeles. I beg of you not to reappoint Chief Moore. He was responsible for 3 murders in the first week of 2023. He blamed George Floyd's murder on innocent protesters. The Take My Breath Away Valentine's Day cards in the LAPD. I don't even know how police can make such a joke about George Floyd's murder. He will not provide names of the LAPD officers that were at the January 6th insurrection. And then, of course, the heartbreaking murder of Keenan Anderson, an unarmed, innocent teacher and father of a 6-year-old son. We desperately need someone who will protect all people. I please beg of you, as a mother, as a citizen of 4 decades of Los Angeles, please do not reappoint Chief Moore. I yield.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Stephanie.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I'm calling to urge this committee to not reelect Moore. No more. As everyone has mentioned so far, there are so many negative impacts that the chief is responsible for as the ultimate overseer of LAPD. I think this committee has heard a resounding response of all of the reasons why this commissioner should not be considered. Lives matter, and it's obvious that this chief does not respect people of color, people of disability, people of lower economic status. This is unfair, and I yield my time.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Mitchell Jacobus.
Hello?
Hi, you have 2 minutes.
Wonderful. Hello, everybody. My name is Mitch Jacobus. Commissioners and Chief and the City Attorney and Inspector General, I thank you all for listening to everybody. All these folks that come on here say that Chief Moore should not be given a second term. I strongly oppose that, and I support a second term for Chief Moore. I respect his leadership, his dedication to the city. I wish I had prepared a statement like the caller Larry did. It was beautifully and eloquently stated why Chief Moore should be given a second term. I look forward to the growth of the department and for the leadership over these 5 years that have been a very challenging time for anybody in any city. And thankfully, we had Chief Moore at the helm to get us through this. So with that, please know that many that do support the chief try to get through to these meetings, and it's always very difficult for the supporters to get through. So take that to heart, and please, as I'll say, more for more. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Melody Barnes. Melody, you're on. Okay, we'll move on. Next, we have Gina Viola. Gina Viola, you're on.
Can you hear me?
Hi, yes, you have 2 minutes.
It is outrageous that we're even having this discussion tonight. The city, the entire city of Los Angeles, has been demanding this chief of police resign since June of 2020. June of 2020, when there was an epic 8-hour meeting that you cut off after 8 hours. We wouldn't even know how long that meeting would have gone. Folks demanding your resignation. And yet here we are playing pony show, dog and pony show, to talk about a reappointment for you. This is just money for you. This is just a paycheck for you, which is deadly, deadly. You know, the other thing that is not a new request is to remove LAPD from traffic stops, from people experiencing mental health crisis, from dealing with our houseless residents. These things have been demanded of the LAPD for years now. For years in the police commission room, we have said LAPD has no business responding to people having a mental health crisis. We've said that for years. And in the first 3 days of this year, you took 3 lives that were having mental health crises. Keenan Anderson, Takar Smith, Oscar Leon Sanchez should all be alive today. If you listened to what the community wanted, if you listened to what the community needed, if you listened to what would make a healthy, happy, thriving Los Angeles, this chief has to go. The LAPD has to go. Steve Soboroff, you have to go. You all have to go. You've sat there, and your complicity in what has happened in the last several years since the community has demanded this chief's resignation is shameful. Shameful. Bye, fuckers.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have caller ending 3146. Caller ending 3146, you're on.
Hello.
Hi,
Well,
you have minutes?
Yep. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's amazing because I thought I might have been the only one to say something like this, but it really should be Steve Soboroff needs to leave first before we talk about the chief. So, well, the chief's on the docket tonight. So, you know how on The Simpsons, the idea that Homer can fix anything is much like the idea that the commission knows how to pick a chief. I mean, the idea that you could pick a chief is crazy. That you, the commissioner, should be the people to be able to choose a chief because you knew the past mayor. or that you 5 really know what you're doing and possess the aptitude to know what to correctly assess as to if this chief should remain. You actually should let the rank and file vote and let them vote over and over for several months to get a better outcome. Things going on, on the inside, no one knows about this stuff. So how can anybody make a real decision about whether the people in total that make this decision are doing the right thing? We're in the dark about really what's going on with this guy. We just see what happens on the street. One thing I wanted to say, though, he's guilty of not changing the training protocol nomenclature. Almost no one can, not even he can, not even a lawsuit seems to be able to do so. So it doesn't matter who you put in there as chief, as long as that nomenclature allows what it's been allowing, we're going nowhere. It doesn't matter who the chief is. But while he's also guilty with Eric, the mayor in the past, they were spending days and months telling us they were going to make a decision, and yet they already knew who they were choosing. That's a hate crime.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Mark Fain.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, you have 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. So I'm not here to say all cops are bastards, proud boys, or racists. That's demonstrably false. But it's demonstrably true that police violence is disproportionately carried out against people of color. And that has more to do with institutional policy and structure than whether individual officers carry hate in their hearts. Police Chief Moore has failed to see this and take action to keep all communities, not just affluent ones, safe. We need a police chief who understands the history of why we are so distrustful of the police and can acknowledge that an armed police response is not the right one for so many scenarios. Thriving communities with economic opportunities keep people safe, and communities cannot thrive at gunpoint. Just as with a disease, prevention is cheaper and more effective than punishment, which is not to say crimes shouldn't be punished with penalties geared toward rehabilitation, but at least as much money needs to go to general community health. We need a police chief who humbles themselves and works with others or steps aside to let education programs, drug treatment centers, and social workers help communities stabilize and thrive. Police Chief Moore has shown he is not this person and only reacts defensively whenever someone in his department makes a catastrophic error. When I watched Keenan Anderson asking for help only to be electrocuted to death in broad daylight, I could not sleep. His death is just one of too many at the hands of this department, and it's still haunting me, and I hope it haunts you. I wasn't watching a fictional John Coffey being executed by electric chair in the Green Mile. I was watching a real-life man in crisis being tortured to death. And while I absolutely blame the terrible judgment of the officers who told a man to hold still while forcing his muscles to spasm with electricity for way too long, the blame must absolutely fall at the feet of the person responsible for his officer's conduct and culture in his department. Chief Moore only ever makes light of these tragedies, as he calls them.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Sylvester Ani.
Hello?
Hi, you have 2 minutes.
Yes, I'm calling because we can't reappoint Chief Moore because, I mean, this isn't working. Everybody's calling and saying it's not working. After all of the trainings, anti-bias training, the co-optation of community policing, nothing's changing. It's getting worse. And it's not only the death of Keenan Anderson. It's not only the death of Oscar. It's not only the death of Takar as well. People, your own officers are killing each other. Houston Tippin was investigating other officers because of a gang rape, and he got killed. It does not work. Policing does not work. And we're continuing to do the same thing, whether it's Chief Moore or whoever's going to come after him, right? We're living in a city that's becoming more and more unaffordable every single year. And yet we pay the police in the city the most money. And on top of that, we're offering over $20,000 in rent subsidies, not for everyday people who are struggling to survive, but for some of the most well-paid individuals in the city. That's where our taxpayer dollars are going towards. And that's where, in the same breath, we'll have the same chief reiterate Dr. Martin Luther King and co-opt and water down his language like Dr. King wouldn't be speaking against the very things that Chief Moore is doing. King said it in the 60s. If Los Angeles wants to do anything to help out what we're doing in the South, then we got to deal with the discrimination that's going on. We got to deal with the police brutality that's going on. And under Chief Moore, it's getting worse. So Chief Moore has to go. Thank you. I yield my time.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Casey Bonner.
Hi,
Hi,
I'm
you
Black.
have minutes?
I'm Black, and I deserve to live free from the fear of state-sanctioned violence against my body. But that's not my reality. And yet I'm lucky. I'm still alive, unlike Keenan Anderson, Takar Smith, and Oscar Leon Sanchez, who the police murdered in the first week of this year. It's not lost on me that we are all talking to a body mostly made up of white folks and a Black man who acts as a rubber stamp for racist actions about a fundamentally anti-Black racist system of policing. It's not lost on me that this commission routinely fails to listen to community, And while I hold no hope that you will actually listen, and I will say this, Chief Moore has presided over the most murderous and brutal police force for the last 5 years, and his tenure has been nothing but failure. Yet while his department has brutalized folks and stolen lives, he has consistently asked for more money in the name of quote unquote public safety, even though his department is the cause of the erosion of safety for Black and brown people. The force he oversees does not make us safer. What makes us safer is investment in things like affordable housing, quality education, healthcare, and mental health and substance treatment services. Moore's policies, actions, and even recruitment procedures are anti-Black, racist, and guided by greed. His force takes $3.2 billion every year from services that matter, that would make a real difference in people's lives, and importantly, would keep them safe from harm. We deserve better than a man who has shown his racism time and time again. We deserve better than a man who fails to hold officers to account for their murderous and brutal actions. We deserve better than a man who advertises in racist rags to recruit officers. We deserve better than a man who can't think logically enough to not detonate a bomb in a residential neighborhood. If you choose to support this man for reappointment, you are failing to do your duty, which is to act as a managing body for the LAPD. Do your jobs and let this failure of a human being go. I yield my time.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Kim Holmes.
Hear me?
Hi, yes, you have 2 minutes.
Okay, great. I really hope that this meeting is not just some sham to show that you did something before you went on to already approve Moore's extension. I really hope that that's not the case, but I really don't have much faith in this process and in your capabilities to actually stand against white supremacy and violence in our Black and brown communities. I don't have much hope. The fact of the matter is Michael Moore should have been gone. He should have been gone numerous times. How many of us in our jobs would have still been there if we had been this horrible at our jobs? Part of being a police officer is to protect and serve. Well, you know, in the Black community, we know that that does not include us. Anytime there is ever an issue and we're like, oh my gosh, what do we do? We're not going to call 911. We're not going to call the police because we don't even know that if we're the ones in need and we call the cops, that they're not going to come and shoot us, the victim. We don't even have that faith because time and time again, you guys show up and just shoot whoever's there. And it is not a situation where we as citizens should feel. We should feel safe. The police should protect and serve all of us, but that's not the reality. A friend of mine was stopped by the police and for no reason other than just being a Black woman. That was it, no other reason. She wasn't driving, she wasn't speeding, she was doing nothing. She was stopped. The officer said she had been drinking. How did the officer know that? By looking at her. She wasn't doing anything wrong. She passed the breathalyzer test and passed it. 0.03, still charged her. She'd done nothing. The officer stopped her and said that she said she was scared.
Thank you. Next, we have Janae Lennox.
First, I wanted to say my condolences to all the families that have been affected by this brutalized, inhumane system. As someone that works with mental health for years now, someone who has family members who have mentally ill and friends, my biggest fear for them is their interaction with the police. My biggest fear is their interaction with the police. And the fact that 3 people who were suffering from mental health issues in January have been murdered lets us know and has continued to let us know that this is not what it's supposed to be. And the fact that Chief Moore, the couple days after these horrific accidents, made excuses for their deaths lets us know that his mindset is not to care about the community and to not hold the folks that murdered individuals accountable. It lets us know his mindset is not to ever hold his police force accountable. So why would they continue to change their behavior? They won't if they know that they're never going to be held accountable. The fact that many of you here, that is your job, to hold more and others accountable, do not do so, allows the mindset that these people will continue to slaughter, knowing that there is not going to be any accountability. The fact that human beings, individual citizens have more, hold people more accountable in their day-to-day lives than the police do is absurd. I do not carry a gun every single day, but you guys do, and you get to slaughter people every day, 3 people. And more, you already told us that you're not going to hold these people accountable. So therefore, why should we not hold you accountable if you don't hold anybody else? This, if mind you, it's been 98% of people on this call that say no more. That means that he needs.
Thank you. Next, we have MC.
Can you all hear me?
Hi, yes, you have 2 minutes.
Y'all should be embarrassed. I don't know how y'all sleep at night knowing that you have blood on your hands. This whole thing is so unserious. First, I want to lift up the names of Keenan Anderson, Takar Smith, and Oscar Leon Sanchez, all who were murdered in the first week of this year. The fact that y'all are even considering reappointing Chief Moore is incredibly asinine. The money Chief Moore is pocketing and taking home, along with his cronies, could be used to house our homeless people, could be used to get mental health services that our communities so desperately need. It is a shame that y'all continue to allow Chief Moore and his cronies to terrorize our communities under his watch. Under his watch alone, Black and brown people are murdered, and there's no accountability. Y'all sillily detonated bombs in South Central, which killed 2 people. Right? Year after year, the raggedy ass budget for LAPD increases, despite millions of dollars being poured into supposed training and technology for situational awareness and de-escalation strategies, yada, yada. LAPD continues to murder people who are in crisis or in need of aid. This violence has devastating consequences for our communities and our families, and Black communities are being deeply impacted by this, needing support, needing to be protected, and wanting to be served should not be a death sentence. We must do better. And y'all need to get real serious in this meeting. I yield the rest of my time.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Stevie.
Hey, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, you have 2 minutes.
Sure, yeah. So my name is Stevie. I'm calling to echo no more. It's already, oh, sorry, I was like stretching. But it's really, I do appreciate that this meeting is in the evening, so it's more accessible, but it's not a very interactive or democratic platform, in that we just have to stare at all of you, have no idea when we'll be called. There's no language justice. There's no Spanish language interpretation. There's no sign language interpretation. Appreciate the captions. They're not accurate. Anyway, it's been just over a year since LAPD murdered Valentina Orellana Peralta and Daniel Elena Lopez, a child and someone who was unhoused at the time they were murdered and also experiencing mental health crisis. And here we are again, not even a week into the new year, and we've got 3 more people murdered by LAPD. Again, no accountability. We know there's no accountability. I do sweeps defense, or have done sweeps defense, where LAPD comes out militarized to forcibly evict poor people from the only shelter they have, to watch as sanitation destroys everything that they own. This is where our money goes while we have 5 people dying unhoused every single day on our streets. No more, no more $3 billion to LAPD while someone dies every 4 hours. And we make poverty a crime. This city is a disgrace, and the only thing that keeps me going is everyone else on this call who has lifted up the names and the families of all that you have murdered. I yield my time.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Camilo.
Hello.
Hi, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I just wanted to uplift the voices that have come out today. Rejecting another term for Chief Moore is beyond an embarrassment for him to even be considered. It's beyond an embarrassment to continue the failed legacy of Eric Garcetti, and for Mayor Karen Bass to consider someone like Chief Moore leading her in her new term. Los Angeles has turned a page. Garcetti abandoned the city for months, and a wassailing like Moore is just the trash left behind, and we shouldn't have to suffer through that. He blew up a neighborhood. His officers will charge in. It's on video, even though they have a protocol, will deny that protocol, go in, shoot blind, and murder a 14-year-old because he can't control his officers. He retired, came back for his pension, and is drawing another salary. He's a bad example in terms of government waste. He's unfit for the position, and he's uplifted by corrupt officials like Steve Soboroff, sitting there looking like he's late for his own funeral in that suit, who only supported Karen Bass as a buffer zone against Caruso and his own vanity, and is now there trying to put his thumb on the scale in support of Chief Moore. And we should reject old corruption like this that allows people like Les Moonves to have unequal access to the police to try to get ahead of a story. People like Corey Palka, corrupt officials who, under the direction of Chief Moore, will continue to do these things. And if we do not stand against this, we'll continue to see the people of LA suffer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Marianne.
Can you hear me?
Hi, yes, you have 2 minutes.
Yes, thank you. No more. I have Keenan Anderson, Takara Smith, Oscar Leon Sanchez. Y'all, I'm not surprised, but still took my breath away that you took their breath away permanently in the first week of this year. I've been to your meetings in person when I can make them because I work in the day, and I sure make them when I can, when I have time off. And I appreciate this time here. This is when they always should be. And I do, Chief Moore does not, he has a history of not holding officers accountable. He is a steward of a culture that kills people and harasses communities, and then adjusts and the stats to his own benefit to sway people to think that something is going on that isn't, and then to sweep money away from the supports that could actually keep people safe in our communities. And while I've seen you face to face dismiss the pain and agony of the loss that you're responsible for, I have to additionally wonder, as a teacher, if you're thinking about the children across the country that are missing their teacher tonight. I yield my time to more voices.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Matios Cadane.
Hello?
Hi, you have 2 minutes.
Yeah, Chief Moore shouldn't get reappointed, obviously, for so many reasons. But I want to be clear about one thing. We at the Stop LAPD Spying Coalition don't believe we should have a police chief. A police chief's job is to perpetuate the racist violence that we've seen as of late. And Chief Moore does that one thing exceptionally well, right? He perpetuates and provides cover for racist violence brilliantly. He does so by dehumanizing the Black and brown community. And this goes far back. When data-driven policing was in question, and community members knew this was the same racist harassment that community members had always felt, Chief Moore sprang into its defense, right? And when it was finally discredited widely, and when it was widely accepted that this shit didn't work, Chief Moore was willing to say that this was an experiment, meaning the communities most impacted by the violence of data-driven policing, communities in Skid Row, communities in South Central LA, were worthy of experiment, subhuman in some ways. And this dehumanization is extended everywhere. And it manifests itself initially as language from Chief Moore, but ultimately as dead Black and brown bodies, right? That's exactly what happens. And we're seeing that in the numbers. 2021, we had 38 people shot by LAPD, 18 dead, 14-year-old Valentino Oriana Peralta, right? We have cops gung-ho about killing predominantly Black and brown people. 2022, 29 people shot, 13 dead. This goes on. We've seen 3 shootings in this first part of January alone. Or I'm sorry, 3 shootings and then 3 people dead altogether, including, Keenan Anderson from being tased. And so for that reason and so many more, we don't want Chief Moore as chief. He is racist. He is a steward for white supremacy. I yield the rest of my time.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Shakir Rahman. Shakir, you're on. Okay, we'll move on. Next, we have Deshawnay Dozier.
Hi, hello, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, you have 2 minutes.
Hi, my name is Dejanay. I am providing comment about the removal of Michael Moore. He no longer needs to be our chief of police, and we will make sure that all of y'all's position will remain irrelevant and your whole entire jobs will be abolished. The Los Angeles Police Department and Commission will be abolished. And I want to say the multiple reasons why. There is no safety coming from the LA Police Department. There's no sense of safety coming from the LA Police Commission. When you have 3 people being killed by the police department within the first week, within the first couple of weeks of 2023, your jobs are irrelevant. The ways that you attempt to instoke safety is actually to create harm and violence and genocide. And you know this. Your jobs are irrelevant, up to everyone to the secretary. No offense. Your funding will be diminished and abolished. And you will no longer be relevant. That is what we're doing. And our first stop is with Michael Moore's position. And now we want you to unmute the next person because they are ready to talk. I yield my time.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Arya Cohen.
Hi, good evening. I am Rabbi Aryeh Cohen. I'll be brief. I'm going to reinforce and amplify the many other voices on here and in the streets who are demanding that Chief Moore is not reappointed. I am here because it is beyond belief that we're still having the same conversations about how to respond to unarmed civilians, especially Black and brown folks, who are not a danger to anybody except possibly to themselves. Introducing armed officers into a situation of a mental health challenge, as in the case of Keenan Anderson, someone who is in shock after a car accident, is a proven recipe for disaster. The LAPD, Chief Moore's officers, have already killed 3 people this year, and they are on track for having another year where they lead the nation in police killings. Chief Moore has made it clear beyond a shadow of a doubt that he cannot rein in the LAPD, his officers, who continue to kill people at an unbelievable rate. No more Moore. I yield back my time.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Thomas.
Hello? Okay.
Hi, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I'm with Black Lives Matter. I reject any more terms for Chief Moore. He doesn't have respect for human life. It's that simple. I'm sorry, dude, you got to get another job or a hobby. I'm sure there's a good fit out there for you somewhere, maybe in an unfulfilled dream. In response to the earlier speaker who said, no one's perfect, everyone makes mistakes. Chief Moore made the biggest mistake he could make in his career 3 times over the span of just 3 days. If a certified doctor killed 3 patients 3 days in a row by accident during a regular workday, they would at least be under review. Chief Moore is simply not doing his job, unless his job is, of course, to be a serial killer. You all know that Keenan Anderson, Takar Smith, and Oscar Leon Sanchez were not threats. But you hire people who hate Black people and want to receive a paycheck for harming vulnerable people. He's not upholding what it means to serve and protect. He's a bully, incompetent, and unable to respond to even the most minor incidents appropriately. You all need to do your jobs and listen to the majority of the people here saying, no more. And that is not a hateful statement. It's not personal. It's logical and based on his repeated actions over many, many years. Thank you. I defer my time.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Mina.
Hello, my name is Mina. I'm a physician here in Los Angeles. I want to say, first of all, I'm very glad that this meeting is occurring in the evening again, because it allows this to be much more accessible for those who are working. I want to uplift the name of Keenan Anderson, who was a father, a teacher, a beloved member of our community who had his life stolen from him. As a physician, I'm on the other end of this. I'm the one that sees people die in the ER, who sees the victims of police violence, and who has to comfort people who live under this threat. I want to echo the words of everyone else on this call to say no more. We need to build a healthier community that does not involve supporting such individuals. As many other people have mentioned, 3 people have died only as this year has begun. Now, if 3 people died under my watch as a physician, I would be immediately under review, or my medical license would be revoked, as it should. And I think that Chief Moore needs to be held accountable, and that means that he should no longer have his job. I urge you all to do your job, the job that myself and other taxpayers are paying you for, and protect the people of Los Angeles and protect them from the leadership of Chief Moore. And I want to say that I really hope that you take this job seriously. Listen to the people on this call, listen to what they have to say, listen to people in your community, professionals like myself, who are telling you that reappointing this guy is really not a good idea. Thank you, and I yield my time.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have EP.
Yes, hello. Hi, wanted to make my comment short and to the point because I think a lot of people have important things to say. Wanted to stand in solidarity with the callers who have made really moving and powerful comments and presentations to y'all. Also send out my condolences and love to the family and loved ones of Keenan Anderson, Takar Smith, and Oscar Leon Sanchez. I do want to just quickly say that I stand, or rather agree with some of the callers and comments made earlier. I think getting rid of Michael Moore is important, but I also would go a step further and say the rest of y'all, this body needs to also be fired and replaced along with just about everybody seated here at this table. A lot of us have been here long enough to remember y'all rubber stamping the murder of civilians, even in the rare instances when the chief of police would rule that their shootings and murder were out of policy. So, you know, getting rid of Michael Moore is important, but you know, if Mayor Bass is listening to this, I think they need to get rid of every single person here. I think Sobrov especially. Sobrov, you're not even attempting to take this shit serious. I've been watching you. You've been rolling your eyes. You've been pretending like this shit isn't getting to you or that you don't care. Act like a fucking adult and start giving a shit or find something fucking better to do. Retire. I yield the rest of my time.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Jan W.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, you have 2 minutes.
Yeah, so I want to start off by naming Steve Soboroff. You need to be in jail right there with Eric Holder because the community knows you orchestrated the murder of Nipsey Hussle. You orchestrated that assassination. So amongst all the people who are murderers,
Madam
don't laugh
Secretary, go to
because
the next caller, please. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Angel.
Hello, Commission. Let me ask you a question. Do you think Moore's ban on this blue line flag increases or decreases officer morale? Do you think you'll get more or less recruits as a result of this? We are down over 800 officers, and the officers we have are anxiously awaiting when they can retire, oftentimes early. I'm going to read what one officer said. Quote, "It's a hopeless situation. Moore is horrible and only cares about staying in power. So I'd love to see him get the boot. But on the other hand, if the mayor replaces him, she will pick someone who is absolutely crazy. There's zero chance she picks someone good. Moore has already sold out, so I just don't even care anymore. None of us do. We're all just counting down our time like prisoners waiting for the day we can escape." End quote. We need a change, but we need a new chief, but someone who is pro-law enforcement. I hope Mayor Bass is listening, but with an open mind. Please choose a chief who will support our police so they can better protect us. Maybe an outsider, someone who doesn't want it so bad that they've sold out their soul to climb up the ladder. Mayor Bass, please listen with an open mind. Moore has put a target now on anyone displaying a blue line flag on their houses, vehicles, and clothing because of a few radical people who are offended by law enforcement. Now, alt-left extremists will target innocent police supporters, even more so that the very chief of police says it represents bigotry and racism. When it was begun by New York police officers who are defending, it is a very thin line, and we do need defense.
Thank you. Next, we have Mariki Alamseged.
Can you hear me?
Hi, yes, you have 2 minutes.
Okay. What the fuck was that? Why did you just hang up on someone who is in the middle of speaking? Decker, just because you don't like what they're saying doesn't mean you can silence the public. On to what I was calling for originally. No more. Not only no more, but no more police commission, because all of you are a waste of space, a waste of public time, and a waste of resources and energy. Moore has led and misled yet again the most murderous police department in the country, and Black people in Los Angeles, poor people in Los Angeles, immigrant communities in Los Angeles, everyone in Los Angeles deserves so much better than what you all are and what you all stand for. And what you stand for is white supremacy. Plain and simple, YouTube honor, what you stand for is white supremacy. And as long as Chief Moore is in office, that is what the city of Los Angeles is getting. As long as policing continues, that's all that we're getting. White supremacy being enacted through your hands and through your day-to-day work. I have so much more to say, but I want to hear from more of our community members who all agree no more, and no more police commission, and no more policing as a whole. I yield the rest of my time. Fuck you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Sheila.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, you have 2 minutes.
The audacity of the mere possibility of the reappointment of Michael Moore as head of LAPD is sickening. I'm glad you all are making the rare decision to have this meeting at night to allow for additional participation from the public that you were supposed to represent. Let's be clear, though, this is not enough. This meeting should be in person. I implore each of you to vote against his reappointment, listen to community, and consider his abysmal record. Let's remember, over 40,000 people signed a petition demanding he be fired. Garcetti failed to do so, but you should do differently. He is a liability, inept, ineffective, dangerous, and corrupt. Moore, I hope you feel the weight of your own failure as the public rips you a new one in the way that you deserve. The reasons he shouldn't be reappointed is long, but let's remember that this list of failures and you're possibly reappointing him is a lack of accountability that has rippling effects. It tells those he is supposed to be in charge of that they too will not be held accountable, and that failure, violence, racism, and corruption is okay. We know that you and he think that is okay, but we as the public do not. This sends a message also to the rest of the county that oftentimes looks to Los Angeles. Listing some of his failures, let's start with the most recent. 3 people were killed by LAPD within the first week of January of 2023. Keenan Anderson, Oscar Leon Sanchez, and Takar Smith. That alone should be enough, but clearly it isn't. So let me continue. LAPD remains the most murderous police agency in the US. They killed at least 16 people last year. In 2021, LAPD killed 18 people and shot 38 people. Michael Moore allowed for the continuation of racialized stops of Black pedestrians and drivers, which he then defended through the lens of race. He failed to act on the behalf of a LAPD captain who is being sexually harassed at work. He advertised and recruited new hires on a white supremacist platform of Breitbart. These are just a few ways.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have caller ending 2258.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, you have 2 minutes.
Hi, so thank you, like others, for the 6 p.m. start time. We need new leadership in order for change to happen. It is still unlikely to be fast nor perfect, and change can be scary, but so much less scary than more of the same we have had. We will be headed in better directions than where Moore's time in this position has led us. Release him for other opportunities he's bound to have, and let's get a fresh perspective appointed to lead us into better outcomes for the citizens of LA, including better outcomes for you, commissioners. Do not reappoint Moore. No more Moore. I yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Allegria.
Hi, thank you. My name is Consuelo Alegria, near lifelong Angelino, and I'm here to demand immediate change and to the murderous entity, Los Angeles Police Department. In the name of Keenan Anderson and the other stolen lives of 2023, and every murdering, brutalizing year before this, Chief Michael Moore must go. In what dystopian world is it okay to give the leader of the most murderous police force in the country year after year the gift, to the benefit, the congratulations to stay in office and do it again, whose forces routinely profile, attack, victimize, and murder primarily Black and brown persons, unhoused persons, trans and LGBTQ persons, and of course, people in need of help like healthcare and mental health care services. Further, we demand that the police be removed from all traffic stops, mental health care calls, schools, park, and housing calls, and that funding be diverted from this weaponized police force to build, create, and expand these imperative social services. Further, less lethal weapons need to be vastly restricted, such as tasers that are just used and overused to then murder persons. The unedited footage of Keenan Anderson's murder needs to be released, and we demand the end of qualified immunity. There's many, many other reasons that Chief Moore must go, including detonating a bomb in a South Central neighborhood, killing 2 people, brutalizing protesters in 2020. But for all of these reasons and everything that everyone has already spoken of, Chief Moore must go. He doesn't deserve one more day, let alone another term. I yield my time.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Laura C.
Hello.
Hi, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Hi, Laura speaking. I want to reiterate the demands of the community members that have called in tonight. First, we're grateful to be able to have our voices heard because this meeting is typically not accessible during the day. The 6 p.m. time works. Let's keep doing that. Otherwise, we have to demand no more. When I think about just the first week of January, which should be a time of renewal, of fresh change and transformation, instead, our communities are grieving. We're struggling because we lost the lives of Keenan Anderson, a young teacher who's no longer going to be able to teach or even be with his children, of Takar Smith and of Oscar Sanchez. And frankly, it would be too many lives if 3 people were stolen by LAPD in the entire year. But to wrap my mind, as someone that's lived in Los Angeles for 12 years, around the fact that that's happened in my city in just the first week of this year, it honestly breaks my heart. It makes me feel ashamed to be from this place. And it makes me feel so much more confident that we need to keep demanding change because this is not sustainable and it's wrong. Not to mention, as my fellow comrades have mentioned on this call, this demand is nothing new. 2020, we demanded for hours change, and specifically a change in the police chief in this city, while we also fight for bigger transformations. The same demand continues. We haven't backed down from that. We know that police need to get out of traffic stops. We know that we need to actually defund the department rather than fight for a bigger budget, as this chief has done. And we know that until we see structural change, as well as the end of Chief Moore, we are going to continue to grieve loss of life of vulnerable community members. So I urge you, do not reinstate Moore. No more. We need to defend the lives of our loved ones, and Black Lives Matter. I yield my time.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have GH.
Hello.
Hi, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Others have spoken more clearly, intelligently, and eloquently to the deep trauma and pain caused by Moore's racist murders, wildly incompetent underlings. So let me speak to the horrible grift under Chief Moore. The fact is, the police pillage our tax dollars and take them out to the suburbs. I assume the commissioners live in LA, like all the callers who've been calling, unlike 90% of the racist, insurrectionist, murderous LAPD. The LAPD come here to pillage and grift our tax dollars. So instead of solutions that would bolster and nurture our communities, we're left with the budgets that create the structural poverty that we see growing exponentially. The reason these police recruits need rent subsidies is because 90% of the police don't live in LA. Imagine if we offered those subsidies to residents of LA, to students of LAUSD, not to become cops, but just to be able to afford the outlandish rent. Instead, we're shipping in racist, violent, incompetent pigs and giving away $3 billion a year. And it's really telling how the ban on the blue flag people are having a temper tantrum because these racist pigs are coming in from the burbs. They're not people that live here. They're not people who respect any other flag but their own criminal gang's flag. And it's really telling who's calling in to support Michael Moore. It's people who are getting fat paychecks off of the LAPPL payroll, and they're an organized criminal gang that is grifting LA, which is creating larger budgets for the police, which are buying LAPPL money to buy politicians, and they should be booted from LA and from any decisions that go into LA budgets. Lastly, LA has paid out hundreds of millions in settlements and judgments and payouts related to civil rights and excessive use of force violations under Moore. No more.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Jason Reedy.
Let's get it, Becky. So there isn't another police chief in the nation with as many blunders as Michael Moore. While we are still reeling from the LAPD's latest murder spree that has stolen the lives of Takar Smith, Keenan Anderson, and Oscar Leon Sanchez, we must also remember the harrowing murder spree that resulted in 6 people shot and 5 murdered over the course of 9 days in December of 2021. Moore had the nerve to label 14-year-old Valentina Oriana Peralta as an adult after they stole her life. Moore has embarrassed our city internationally. His security detail detained a French national in his own country, with Moore lying, saying that he wasn't present during the detention when it was his security detail doing the detaining. He wanted $2 million for a canine bomb unit expense after bombing the community at 27th San Pedro. Under Musty Mike, there hasn't been one single racial bias complaint against LAPD sustained, with half of those complaints coming from their number one target, Black men. He never enforced LAPD's mandated policy requiring officers to wear masks whenever in public or in the workplace, resulting in immeasurable community transmission from these super spreaders. He felt that it was appropriate not only to promote, but feature Ryan Lee, the black pig who murdered Grishario Mack in last year's MLK dedication video. 6 months ago, Brent Hayhoe, a white pig, literally did a drive-by shooting on Jermaine Pettit, on a black man in a black neighborhood. He fired 2 shots out of his window into a residential neighborhood. That's Moore's legacy. What about LAPD's investigation of the second swatting of Dr. Melina Abdullah? You know, the one that went on to an unrecorded homicide line, the one that LAPD couldn't blame children in other countries for. LAPD terrorizes our unhoused siblings. Under Moore, unhoused people were found to be 55 times more likely to be victims of documented police violence than their house counterparts. And a reminder that LAPD throws out virtually every complaint it receives because the public isn't allowed to keep members of this paramilitary organization accountable. So I just want to say again, no more. It's time to say goodbye to Musty Mike.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Mark Dutton.
Yes, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, you have 2 minutes.
Hi there. Yeah, I mean, I'm probably just about as frustrated as everybody else, but I have to say, and I'm not being sarcastic, my hat is off to all of you guys. You take a weekly beating, like unlike anything I would probably be able to take. So, you know, kudos on that end. The second point I'd like to make is, I think this is the first police commission meeting I've ever been on where both opposing sides, you know, anti-police and pro-police are kind of in agreement here. I'm sorry to say that, Chief Moore, respectfully. I know your job is difficult, but I believe we've crossed the Rubicon here, and I don't think that there's a way to fix this. Both, you know, officers seem unhappy, affluent neighborhoods seem unhappy, impoverished neighborhoods seem unhappy. It seems like this is time to go. I don't know how to fix this. We've all tried. I've been very pro-police and supportive of upholding the law, and I've gotten nowhere. You know, it's very, very frustrating, and I'm sorry to say I have to, you know, come down on the side of needing new leadership here. So, you know, thank you for your service. I know it's a super tough job. I know I couldn't do it, but somebody's got to do it, and it just doesn't seem to be done properly at this point. So I yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Stephanie Luna.
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, you have 2 minutes.
Yeah, I want to start off by honoring the lives of Keenan Anderson, Takar Smith, and Oscar Leon Sanchez, who were murdered in the first week of under Michael Moore's watch. How many times do people have to call in and express how reckless and murderous the LAPD is? How many people have been calling in since 2020 demanding Michael Moore's resignation? You're all listening to what the people most affected by LAPD are saying, and yet you'll do nothing. You'll offer condolences to families and then do a press conference criminalizing the individuals that were murdered. You'll say you're investigating, then turn around and release reports protecting your officers. We're over it. Hey, Michael, how many times have you heard that Los Angeles doesn't want you anymore? Get the hint. LAPD is one of the most murderous departments in the country. As a commission, your job is to listen to the community and put a stop to this murderous culture. Your job is to hold them accountable, and yet you guys have sat back and allowed for 13 people to be killed in 2022, a neighborhood to be blown up, a teenager to be killed while trying on her quinceañera dress. Now here we are, the first month into 2023, and 3 people were killed. Are you guys gonna sit back through that too? Reappointing Michael Moore means that you're all complicit with murder. It means that you're complicit with corruption. Keenan Anderson deserved to live. Takar Smith deserved to live. Oscar Leon Sanchez deserved to live. No more. I yield the rest of my time. Fuck LAPD.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Kristen S.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, you have 2 minutes.
Hi, like many other callers, I am calling in to say no more for a myriad of reasons. And most recently, because Oscar Leon Sanchez mattered, Takar Smith mattered, Keenan Anderson mattered. All of them deserved to be alive. And the sole fucking reason that they aren't is because of people like you who uphold white supremacy and are so goddamn unfazed by it. I see all of you sitting here, oh, just like pretending to be calm because you don't care. Black Lives Matter, and you are all showing by your actions right now that you don't think that they do. LAPD murdered 16 Angelinos in 2022 and has already murdered another 3 in the first week of January 2023. Black and brown people especially. You're all complicit. If you want to start to try to even attempt to change that the tiniest bit, you will do your best to not reappoint Michael Moore. I can't even begin to express to you how disgusted every single person who has called in to say the same thing is. You should all go ahead and enjoy your jobs while you have them, because there is an entire community of people out there who are just waiting to abolish the police, abolish all of your jobs, because it is a system that has, since its inception, upheld white supremacy and victimized Black and brown people. And we are here to say that Black lives matter. I yield my time. Fuck you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have no more.
Whew. Wow, where do I start? I am a Los Angeles resident. My name is Michael. And man, y'all are really shitty. Y'all are some shitty ass people. Moore cannot be reappointed. I'm the same age as Keenan Anderson. Live near that area. It's really heartbreaking, and my sincere and deepest condolences go out to Keenan's family, to Carr Smith's family, Oscar Leon Sanchez's family, and really any family who has lost a loved one to LAPD. We have to reimagine public safety. We know that rich white communities practice abolition. They have all the things, all the basic things they need to thrive. And meanwhile, our communities, Black and brown communities, do not have basic shit. And even when we call on y'all to resign, when we call on Moore to resign for several years, y'all have not listened. And so I don't know what else to say. I think everyone has uplifted all of the key points that Moore simply cannot be reappointed for all of the reasons that the people have said. I mean, the sexual assault case where it was a $4 million case that had to be settled. The bombing in South Central, 16 people dying last year. Just the names. How long, as Pastor Q has talked about, how long do Black people have to be collateral for your version of public safety? Moore has got to go. Reimagine public safety, defund the police, abolish the police, and fuck all y'all. I yield my time.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Christopher Martin.
Hey, can everybody hear me?
Hi, yes, you have 2 minutes.
Okay. We can't keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. Somebody here already said that. So no more Chief Moore. I can't tell you how many civil rights lawsuits there are against this guy for the policies enacted and enforced under his leadership. It's time to go in another direction. These policies are resulting in the unnecessary murder of our citizens. Tasing a guy to death as he's clearly going through some type of crisis, mental health, or even being under the influence in and of themselves should not be a death sentence or a justification for excessive force. It's unacceptable. Nothing is going to bring back Keenan Anderson. And because of this and so many others that we can't bring back Chief Moore. And it's really as simple as that. I'm going to yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Aaliyah.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hi, yes, you have 2 minutes.
Okay. Well, I'm here with my daughter, and she's hearing all these things that all of these callers are saying. And believe me, the F word is not the thing I'm worried about. I'm worried about her hearing about how our authority figures are murdering people. I'm worried about how that is inspiring people to go to schools and shoot them up, because as they watch their authority figures not be held accountable, they are also feeling that they won't be held accountable. So I am asking all of you tonight to consider that the people of Los Angeles are calling for empathy in their city. It doesn't matter what position you're in. It doesn't matter what exactly your job is. Whatever you're doing, I want you to ask yourself, does this serve empathy? Because that's what we need. And that's what the people are calling for. And I believe in you, all of you, no matter what you've done, no matter what you've been coerced into doing, no matter what you've seen and turned the other cheek to, that tonight is a new night. Today is a new choice. And I urge you to choose empathy. Thank you. I yield my time. No more.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Lane McFadden.
Hello.
Hi, you have 2 minutes.
Hi. Yes. First, I'd like to uplift the lives and memory of Keenan Anderson, Takar Smith, and Oscar Leon Sanchez, who were taken from us by the murderous LAPD. I want to echo everything that callers have called in. We obviously can't have Chief Moore have a second term. He has resided over the most murderous police department in the country, and that department has only got more murderous as he's been on the job. And you know, what else can I say? He blew up a neighborhood. He tried to justify the killing of a 14-year-old girl from his murderous pigs. I mean, you know, there's not a lot that this guy can do more wrong. And the other thing we want to say is that we need less police in our lives. They you know, Keenan Anderson should not have been in that position. Michael Moore just wants to funnel more money into this department. We need less money in this department. We need alternatives to police. We need Black and brown people in LA to not be held hostage by this murderous fascist organization. And yeah, fuck LAPD, fuck Chief Moore, and I yield my time.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Norma Chavez.
Hello, thank you. I just want to support everything that everybody has said in the past with regards to the no reappointment of Chief Moore. I do not agree with the removal of the thin blue line flags from police stations. I understand its meaning and I respect it. I also don't agree with the removal and transferring of officers in my community without prior notice, nor an explanation as to why they're being transferred. And I would definitely want Captain Smith and Officer Contreras to come back to my community. We do need change, and we do need someone who can lead the LAPD in a more positive direction. I yield my time.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Joy.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, you have 2 minutes.
Wonderful. Dear leaders and members of the Los Angeles community, my name is Joy Bro and I live in Los Angeles County and I was born and raised in the surrounding area. I love this city with all that I am. And I'm not going to attack Chief Moore because quite honestly, it's a waste of my time. It seems that this position of police chief attracts people like him. I do want to demand that you will not reappoint Chief Moore because Los Angeles deserves better. If we don't realize it, after seeing a man electrocuted to death, Keenan Anderson, rest in peace, a teacher, a servant of society, killed by police officers is indicative of that, then I don't know what the hell is. We are an over-policed community, and I demand better. Many of us on this call know that it will probably take our entire lifetimes to advocate and build a better community. We lack imagination for better because we want to protect the illusion of safety. We are looking to even bring thousands of more officers to the Olympics in Los Angeles. Are you serious? Clearly, we have no idea how to build safer communities. What reality do you expect us to believe when the objective violence we have endured? There was a gentleman who said earlier that he is pro-police and thinks we should support Michael Moore, that he pities the fact that police officers' morale is down. Why? What on God's green earth has the Los Angeles Police Department done to deserve our support and respect? Imagine police enforcement police enforcement that provides protection for Black, brown, and vulnerable communities, but they can't raise a flag for that because they are disastrous for communities of color and vulnerable. We have seen that they will lie, cheat, still kill to protect themselves. They are an $11 billion failure and waste of community resources. We already know that children, men, and women will die to support this corrupt system. And I know in my heart that we will get better, but we are not going to move in that direction with Chief.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Secretary. That concludes our public comment and our meeting for this evening. I do want to thank all members of the public who took the time to call in and express their views. If you did not get a chance to speak this evening, please do write the commission at our email address, commission@lapd.online, or you can call into our regularly scheduled board meeting next Tuesday, the 24th, where we'll have and take additional public comment. Thank you very much. Mr. Tiefenk, that concludes our meeting for this evening. Is a motion necessary to conclude?
Yes, it is.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. I'll make the motion that we adjourn for this evening until next Tuesday. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Thank you very much. It passes. We'll see everyone next Tuesday. Thank you.
Thank you.